The Puppet Master's Playbook, Unveiling Covert Manipulation Techniques by Jonathan Graves. This book is not about cheap tricks or superficial persuasion tactics. It's about understanding the deeper psychological frameworks that govern human behavior, how thoughts are implanted, how emotions override reason, how repetition builds truth, and how authority bends perception. Chapter 1, The Four Laws of Covert Manipulation. Perception is reality. Human beings don't perceive reality directly. They interpret it through a mental filter shaped by past experiences, emotions, expectations, and biases. The illusion of objectivity. Most people believe that they are rational decision makers who assess the world logically and base their conclusions on facts. However, modern psychology has repeatedly demonstrated that human thinking is anything but objective. Biases distort reasoning, emotions override logic, and environmental influences shift beliefs without conscious awareness. Take, for example, confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out and believe information that supports pre-existing ideas while ignoring and dismissing evidence to the contrary. Another common cognitive distortion is the availability heuristic, where people judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily they can recall similar occurrences. The key takeaway: reality doesn't matter, perception does, and perception is highly malleable. Once someone's perception of a situation is manipulated, the decisions actually follow. The principle is heavily studied in behavioral economics, which explores how seemingly insignificant changes in presentation alter human choices. A prime example is a framing effect. Imagine you're given these two options. The procedure has a 90% survival rate. The procedure has a 10% chance of death. Logically, both statements convey the same information. However, studies show that people are significantly more likely to accept a procedure when it is framed in terms of survival rather than death. The principle is applied everywhere, from advertising to political rhetoric. Sales tactics. A product is marketed as available for only $99.99 instead of cost $100. Political messaging. A law is framed as protecting national security rather than increasing surveillance. Emotions dictate how individuals interpret events. A person in a positive emotional state will see neutral situations as favorable, while someone in a negative state will perceive those same situations as threats. For example, interrogators build rapport before asking crucial questions. Once a subject feels comfortable, they're more likely to answer honestly and less likely to recognize manipulative questioning tactics. Similarly, in sales, a skilled negotiator will first engage in small talk, crack a joke, or offer a compliment to create a positive atmosphere before making a pitch. A fearful mind is more susceptible to suggestion, making it easier to shape opinions. The illusory truth effect states that the more often something is heard, the more likely it is to be believed, even if it's false. Repetition creates familiarity, and the brain equates familiarity with truth. Repetition is most effective when combined with credibility and social proof. When a message is repeated across multiple sources, especially from authoritative or trusted figures, it solidifies as truth. This is how social media algorithms manipulate perception. By showing users content they already engage with, they reinforce existing beliefs, creating ideological echo chambers. This technique can be applied in everyday interactions. In personal influence, repeating key phrases during conversations subtly imprints ideas in someone's mind. In persuasion, a negotiator who frequently restates the benefits of a deal increases the likelihood of acceptance. Application: how to reshape perception. To reshape perception, follow these 5 principles. 1, frame the narrative. 2, control exposure. 3, engage emotions. 4, use repetition. And 5, leverage authority and social proof. People are predictable. Every person believes they are unique in their decision-making, but reality, human behavior follows predictable patterns. People act in accordance with their past experiences, subconscious biases, and psychological conditioning. When an action produces a positive outcome, people are likely to repeat it. When it results in discomfort, they avoid it. For example, gamification. Apps and social media platforms reward engagement with dopamine triggering notifications, making people return repeatedly. Fear-based persuasion. Politicians use fear of loss to steal public opinion. Interpersonal influence: a manipulator reinforces behaviors they want by providing positive feedback while subtly discouraging resistance through disapproval or subtle punishment. Breaking a habit makes people more receptive to external guidance. Anticipating actions before they happen. Once you understand that behavior follows patterns, you can predict how people will respond before they act. Here are 3 proven psychological triggers that drive behavior in predictable ways. 1, the commitment principle. People strive for consistency in their actions and beliefs. Once they commit to an idea or decision, they resist changing their minds even when presented with contradictory evidence. How to exploit it: get someone to agree to a small action, then escalate the commitment gradually. The authority effect. People instinctively obey perceived authority figures even when the orders go against their personal values. This was famously demonstrated in the Milgram experiment, where participants obeyed instructions to administer fake electric shocks to another person simply because an authority figure told them to. How to exploit it: position yourself as a knowledgeable or authoritative source. People are more likely to follow your lead if they perceive you as having expertise or higher status. Doctors, police officers, and CEOs are given instant credibility in conversations. 3, the scarcity principle. People assign more value to things they perceive as rare or limited. This instinct is a survival mechanism when resources are scarce to become more desirable. How to exploit it: create urgency by suggesting that an opportunity is limited in time or availability. Marketers use phrases like "only 3 left in stock" or "limited time offer" to drive immediate action in social situation. Appearing less available increases desirability. Positive reinforcement. This involves rewarding desired behavior to encourage repetition. The reward doesn't have to be tangible. Praise, social approval, or emotional validation can be just as effective as money or gifts. How to use predictability to influence others. The final step in leveraging behavioral predictability is positioning yourself as a guiding force in a person's decision-making process. Here's how to do it. 1, observe. Watch for patterns in how a person responds to different situations. Identify their emotional triggers, habits, and decision-making tendencies. 2, anticipate. 3, subtly steer. 4, reinforce. 5, gradually escalate. When people resist direct control, humans have instinctual desire for autonomy. This is rooted in self-determination theory, which suggests that people are motivated by 3 core psychological needs: 1, autonomy; 2, competence; 3, relatedness. Instead of direct pressure, use implied expectations. People comply more readily when they believe it is their own choice. Instead of over-the-top flattery, use calibrated validation, compliments that feel earned and specific rather than general and excessive. Use social proof and consensus instead of direct emotional pressure. People are more likely to conform if they believe others already have. People comply more readily when they believe they are making a choice, even if both options lead to the same desired outcome. Instead of saying, "sign this contract," a skilled negotiator asks, "would you prefer to sign today or tomorrow?" Instead of forcing a friend to go out, say, "should we go to the club or the lounge?" The power of suggestion. Direct commands often trigger resistance. Instead, the best manipulators plant ideas subtly, allowing the target to come to conclusions on their own. Instead of saying, "you should trust me," a skilled manipulator says, "you're someone who values loyalty, right?" Instead of saying, "you need to invest in this," a financial advisor might say, "smart investors are looking at this opportunity right now." Each small agreement reinforces a psychological pattern that makes further compliance feel natural. Framing is the act of defining how a situation is perceived. It determines context, emotional tone, and meaning before discussion even begins. The frame tells people what matters and what doesn't. Consider a simple example. Frame 1, this surgery has a 90% success rate. Optimistic perspective. Frame 2, the surgery has a 10% failure rate. Pessimistic perspective. Pre-framing is the act of setting expectations before a conversation or event takes place. It ensures that the target enters the situation already primed to see things from a specific angle. Without pre-framing, this is a new product on the market. With pre-framing, this product is being used by top executives to boost productivity. Handling accusations. Instead, imagine someone accuses you of being too aggressive in a negotiation. Instead of defining yourself, use reframe. "I'm not aggressive. I'm just highly focused on getting the best outcome for everyone involved." How to use reframing. 1, listen for negative frames. 2, immediately reframe your different using different language. 3, shift the focus toward an advantage. Controlling emotional frames. Framing doesn't just apply to facts, it also dictates emotions. If you control the emotional frame of a conversation, you control how people feel about a situation. 1, the power of calmness. People mirror the emotions of those around them. If you remain calm in a heated situation, others will subconsciously follow your lead. 2, creating a sense of urgency. Urgency increases compliance. When people believe time is limited, they are more likely to act without thinking critically. The authority frame. Authority frames make people default to compliance. When an idea is framed as coming from a trusted expert, it's far more persuasive. Instead of saying, I think this is a good investment, say, top financial analysts agree this is a strong investment opportunity. The most powerful manipulators don't just use one frame, they stack multiple frames together to create a layered reality that supports the goal. 1, pre-frame. 2, emotional frame. 3, authority frame. 4, scarcity frame. And 5, social proof frame. How the subconscious accepts ideas. The subconscious is highly receptive to certain types of input. To successfully implant an idea, you must follow a psychological process that aligns with how the brain naturally absorbs information. 1, lowering mental defenses. A person's conscious mind acts as a gatekeeper, filtering out ideas that seem suspicious, contradictory, or forced. The first step to planting a thought is to reduce mental resistance so that the subconscious becomes more open to influence. How to do it. 1, use relaxation. People are more susceptible when they're calm, distracted, or in a passive state. 2, build rapport. 3, use indirect communication. Get the target to say it themselves. People believe ideas more strongly than when they say them out loud. Encourage the target to verbalize your suggestion in their own words. Instead of saying you should take this job, say, what do you think are the biggest benefits of this job for you? Guiding questions, leading without telling. Instead of telling someone what to think, ask questions that guide them towards the answer you want. This technique is commonly used in sales, therapy, and leadership. Direct persuasion, bad approach. You should buy this because it's the best option. Indirect influence, better approach. What's most important to you in a product like this? Examples in action. 1, negotiation. How do you see this benefiting you in the long run? 2, what do you think would happen if we tried this new approach? 3, what's the biggest frustration with your current situation or solution? People resist commands, but they like making choices. The trick is to control the available choices so that all paths lead to your desired outcome. Instead of, you need to sign this contract, better approach, would you prefer to start the project this week or next week? Instead of, you should try this, better approach, most people in your situation go with this option. How to use priming. Use specific words in conversation that subtly reinforce your idea. Repeatedly saying trust makes someone subconsciously associate you with trustworthiness. Set a positive emotional tone before persuasion. Making someone laugh before making a request makes them more receptive. Most successful professionals invest in this kind of training. What's most important for you in growing your career? People trust their own conclusions more than anything they are told. Repetition works because the brain takes shortcuts. Instead of analyzing every statement critically, it assumes that if something sounds familiar, it must be true. How to use repetition to implant ideas. Repeat key messages in different ways. Instead of saying this product is the best, repeatedly frame it in different ways. A lot of people are saying this is the best option. This product consistently outperforms others in its category. The results speak for themselves. This product dominates the market. By engineering multiple points of reinforcement, the target will start to accept the idea as their own belief. Repetition does not always have to be obvious. The best manipulators embed their message in normal conversations over time. Instead of saying you should trust me, say, it's rare to find someone you can really trust. I've always valued honesty in relationships. Trust is the foundation of everything. While repetition reinforces beliefs, priming sets the stage for those beliefs to form in the first place. Priming works by exposing the subconscious to certain words, images, or ideas before a decision or action takes place, making those ideas more accessible to the mind. Use language to set expectations. Words shape perception before a person even thinks about a situation. By strategically choosing certain words or phrases, you influence how someone interprets events. Instead of saying this is a cheap product, say this is a high value investment. While each method is powerful on its own, the greatest impact comes from combining repetition and priming to shape a person's thoughts from multiple angles. Repeat key benefits in different ways, prime expectations before negotiations, and use multiple sources for reinforcement. One of the most powerful psychological tools of manipulation is the Zeigarnik effect, a cognitive phenomenon where the brain fixates on unfinished tasks and unresolved thoughts. The effect can be to create mental loops, emotional intrigue, and a deep sense of urgency, making people unable to stop thinking about an idea, a person, or a situation. How to use the Zeigarnik effect for influence. One, create open loops in conversation. Instead of saying our product improves efficiency by 30%, say the way our product increases efficiency is really surprising. Let me explain. The entertainment industry thrives on the Zeigarnik effect. Every great TV show, book, or movie uses cliffhangers to ensure audience return. We're about to release something groundbreaking. Stay tuned. Interrupt patterns to leave a lasting impression. People often complete thoughts and conversations. When you intentionally disrupt this pattern, it forces the brain to hold on to the unfinished idea. Instead of making a full pitch, pause strategically. The real reason this method works is actually pretty fascinating. This pause builds suspense, making the listener lean in and hungry for the answer. Make people feel they need to earn completion. The mind values effort and investment. If someone starts something but doesn't finish it, they feel a need to complete the cycle, even if they weren't fully committed before. Instead of offering everything up front, make prospects invest time before closing the deal. I'll walk you through the first few steps, and if it makes sense, we'll take the next step. How to use the Zeigarnik effect to work for you. To effectively use unfinished thoughts to create obsession, follow these principles. 1, leave conversation open-ended. 2, use cliffhangers strategically. 3, make people invest before revealing everything. 4, break conventional conversational patterns. Introduce pauses, interruptions, or unexpected gaps to make statements more memorable. 5, use unresolved commitment to increase compliance. Chapter 3, psychological tricks for influence. Influence is not about forcing people to comply. It's about making them want to follow your lead. Why mirroring works, the science of rapport. This effect occurs because the brain associates similarity with safety and trust. When people perceive someone as like them, they are more likely to, 1, feel comfortable and at ease, 2, be open to influence, 3, trust a person without logically reasoning. How to use mirroring to build influence. 1, mirror body language subtly. One of the easiest ways to build rapport is to match the body language of the person you're interacting with. If they cross their arms, wait a few seconds, then cross yours. If they lean in, subtly lean in. If they gesture while speaking, use similar hand movements. 2, match their speaking style and tone. People feel more connected to those who speak in a similar way. Ways to mirror speech. Match their pace or use similar phrases. 3, reflect their emotional state. Mirroring is not just about body language and speech. It also applies to emotions. People naturally trust and bond with those who reflect their emotional experiences. 4, synchronize actions to build deeper rapport. Mirroring works even when people are unaware it's happening. One advanced technique is synchronized movement, where you subtly coordinate actions with someone in real time. If they take a sip of their drink, wait a few seconds and do the same. If they adjust their posture, shift slightly in response. Advanced mirroring, leading the interaction. Once rapport is established, a skilled manipulator can reverse the mirroring effect and subtly take control of the interaction. Step 1, mirror first to build trust. Step 2, gradually change your behavior. Step 3, use leading mirroring to direct outcomes. Why mirroring is so powerful. Mirroring is a silent but powerful technique that creates deep psychological bonds. When using effectively, it allows you to 1, establish trust quickly, 2, increase likability and influence, 3, subconsciously guide interactions, and 4, control the emotional tone of a conversation. The illusion of certainty, the psychological bias that makes people equate certainty with correctness. In sales, a confident delivery sells more than product quality itself. The best salespeople don't just describe a product's benefits, they state them as undeniable truths. A weak salesperson says this could help improve your workflow. A strong salesperson says this will revolutionize how you work, no question about it. Customers gravitate toward the second approach, even if both statements are about the same product. Why? Certainty makes the brain feel safe and decisive. So how to appear more convincing even without expertise. If certainty outweighs truth, then mastering how to project confidence can instantly make you more persuasive. Here's how. One, speak in absolutes. Replace I think or it's possible instead of this might be a good idea. Say this is the best solution. People don't follow the smartest person in the room. They follow the one who sounds the most sure of themselves. Throughout history, leaders, influencers, and manipulators have understood that certainty is more persuasive than truth. When spoken with conviction, even a lie can spread faster than an honest but hesitant statement. Mastering the illusion of certainty gives you an edge in every interaction, whether in business, negotiation, leadership, or personal relationships. Those who project confidence shape the reality of those around them. The ability to remove doubt from your voice, your body language, and your words makes others see you as an authority, even before you prove yourself. Types of anchoring and how to use them. Price anchoring, controlling perceived value. Anchoring is commonly used in sales and business negotiations to influence how people perceive value. When a high price is mentioned first, any lower price seems like a bargain. Conversely, when a low price is presented first, any higher price feels excessive. 2, emotional anchoring, linking feelings to people and places. 3, physical anchoring, embedding influence through touch and movement. 4, verbal anchoring, using language to trigger reactions. The power of strategic silence. Silence is one of the most underrated tools in influence and manipulation. While most people associate power with speaking, those who understand how to use silence effectively can control conversations, negotiations, and even relationships without saying much at all. Strategic silence triggers 3 key effects. 1, discomfort and pressure. People naturally feel rushed to fill silences. 2, perceived authority. Those who speak less appear more confident and powerful. 3, amplified effect. When a statement is followed by silence, the brain processes it with greater significance. Silence creates an urge to justify, explain, and negotiate against oneself, making it a simple yet effective way to extract valuable information. The yes ladder technique, creating a pattern of agreement. The yes ladder technique is one of the most effective psychological strategies for influence. It works by guiding a person through a series of small agreements, gradually increasing their willingness to comply with larger requests. This principle is the foundation of the yes ladder. Once someone starts saying yes, they are psychologically conditioned to keep saying yes. Each new yes should feel like a natural progression from the last one. Example, negotiation business deals. If a client is hesitant to agree to a full deal, start by asking them to agree to a minor term or free trial. If you want an employee to take on a major responsibility, first get them to say yes to a small task related to that responsibility. Combine the yes ladder with social proof. Social proof showing that others have already agreed makes people even more likely to say yes. A speaker might say, raise your hand if you agree that personal growth is important. Once hands were raised, the audience is conditioned to agree with the next statements as well. Use emotional priming before the yes ladder. People are more likely to say yes when they are in a positive emotional state. Setting the right emotional tone before starting the yes ladder increases its effectiveness. Before making a request, a salesperson might engage in small talk about something positive to get the client into an agreeable mindset. Moral licensing, the illusion of being good justifies harm. Moral licensing is when people justify unethical behavior because they believe they already acted morally. This is why someone who donates to charity may later feel justified in cutting ethical corners in business. The mind keeps a subconscious moral balance sheet, and manipulators use this to their advantage. A person says, after all I've done for you, how can you not help us with this? They reframe past good deeds as justification for present demands. Governments frame their enemies as evil and dangerous, while their own actions are always righteous and necessary. Citizens then support extreme actions because they believe they are defending morality. The good versus evil illusion prevents critical thinking by making people emotionally invested in a simplified narrative. A company frames a competitor or critic as unethical, shifting an attention away from their own issues. People instinctively side with the morally correct option, even if it was manufactured. Outrage short circuits logical thinking and makes people easier to control because they react emotionally rather than analytically. Morality is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. It can inspire greatness, create order, and unite people under common values, but it can also be manipulated to justify oppression, dissent, silence dissent, and control entire societies. Those who understand how morality is shaped, framed, and enforced gain the ability to see beyond false narratives and resist emotional control. The question is not whether morality is being used as a weapon, it is whether you recognize it when it happens. When people perceive an idea, belief, or behavior as widely accepted, they are far more likely to adopt it themselves, even if they originally disagreed. Manipulators understand this and manufacture the appearance of mass agreement to pressure individuals into compliance. The brain is wired for social conformity. Throughout history, human survival depended on group belonging. Ostracization from the tribe meant death. Because of this, our minds have evolved to 1, trust the majority, 2, fear standing out, 3, seek validation. The bandwagon effect. Why consensus feels like truth. The bandwagon effect is a cognitive bias where people adopt beliefs simply because they believe others already believe them. This is why trends spread so quickly, political movements gain momentum, businesses use fake reviews and testimonials. Those who question or challenge the narrative are framed as extremists, misinformed, or dangerous. People fear social backlash, so they remain silent even if they disagree. By making people afraid to speak up, manipulators create self-policing populations that enforce conformity without requiring external force. How to resist groupthink and maintain independent judgment. Because social pressure is so powerful, resisting forced consensus manipulation requires conscious effort. Here's how to break free from groupthink. 1, question the source of consensus. 2, beware of everyone agrees language. 3, recognize when fear is being used to enforce compliance. 4, seek uncensored discussions. The illusion of consensus is a powerful form of control, not because people are forced to comply, but because they willingly follow the perceived majority. True independence is not about rejecting all popular opinions. It's about recognizing when consensus is real and when it has been manufactured. Why emotional hijacking works, the brain under stress. The brain has 2 primary processing systems, the logical mind, the prefrontal cortex, and the emotional mind, the limbic system and amygdala. When emotions run high, the logical mind is overpowered by the emotional mind, causing impulse-driven decisions. This is known as the amygdala hijack, a term coined by psychologist Daniel Goleman. When this happens, a person becomes hyper-focused on their emotions, reacts instinctively, and becomes highly suggestible. How emotional hijacking is used to control people. Insurance company use fear-based messaging. What happens to your family if you die unexpectedly? Make sure they're protected. A manipulative partner might say, if you leave me, no one else will ever love me. The fear of abandonment forces emotional compliance. Guilt is a powerful weapon in manipulation. When a person feels responsible for someone else's suffering, they become willing to comply with demands to relieve their guilt. Exploiting excitement to push quick decisions. Excitement overrides skepticism. When people are emotionally excited or high, they act on impulse and ignore warning signs. Using anger to create division and control perception. Anger is one of the easiest emotions to manipulate because it shuts down rational discussion and fuels tribalism. When people are angry, they become reactionary, irrational, more likely to follow commands. How to defend against emotional hijacking. 1, recognize when your emotions are being manipulated. If a situation subtly makes you feel intense fear, guilt, or excitement or anger, stop and ask, am I being emotionally manipulated? Is this urgency real or is someone creating pressure? 2, delay decisions until emotions settle. 3, challenge the narrative being presented. Emotional manipulation often frames reality in a specific way to push a desired outcome. To break the illusion, question the source, consider alternative viewpoints. Scarcity and urgency, forcing quick buying decisions. By making a product seem limited, advertisers create artificial demand. By pushing consumers to buy before they even think about whether they truly want it. People transfer positive emotions from the figure to the brand, increasing trust and desirability without needing real evidence. Social proof, the herd mentality in consumer behavior. People assume that if others are doing something, it must be the right choice. Advertisers use this to manipulate consumers into following the crowd. How to defend against advertising manipulation. 1, recognize emotional triggers in ads. 2, question the scarcity and exclusivity tactics. 3, separate the product from the identity being sold. The more often a statement is repeated, the more it becomes subconsciously accepted, regardless of reality. How to defend against political manipulation. 1, question how information is framed. 2, recognize when fear is being used. 3, avoid emotional reactivity. 4, look beyond mainstream choices. How social media algorithms control thought. Social media algorithms are powered by self-learning AI algorithms that monitor everything a user does, what they like, share, watch, comment on, and even how long they pause on a post. This data has been used to control what they see next, shaping their worldview. The key principles behind social media manipulation are: 1, engagement is prioritized over truth. 2, echo chambers reinforce existing beliefs. 3, negative emotions drive the most engagement. 4, the algorithm learns to manipulate individual behavior. Tactics used to manipulate users on social media. 1, dopamine loops, addicting users to engagement. Platforms use infinite scrolling to keep users hooked. Notifications trigger small dopamine hits, making people crave engagement. 2, algorithmic censorship and shadow banning. 3, outrage engineering, triggering emotional reactions for profit. 4, the echo chamber effect, reinforcing existing beliefs. 5, manufactured virality, controlling trends and public opinion. By controlling what trends, social media platforms shape what people talk about, care about, and believe in. How to defend against social media manipulation. 1, reduce algorithmic influence. 2, recognize engagement traps. 3, protect privacy and avoid data exploitation. How manipulation works in personal relationships. The human brain is wired to seek connection, approval, and validation. Manipulators exploit this by: 1, creating emotional highs and lows. 2, triggering guilt, fear, obligation. 3, controlling information perception. 4, isolating the target. Guilt tripping turns relationships into power imbalances where the manipulator controls through obligation. Common manipulation tactics in personal relationships. 1, gaslighting, making someone question reality. 2, guilt tripping, using emotional debt as leverage. 3, love bombing, overwhelming someone with affection to create dependency. 4, the silent treatment, weaponizing absence for control. The silent treatment manipulates through anxiety, making the victim work for emotional reconnection. 5, passive aggression, controlling through subtle attacks. Passive aggression creates emotional unease, making the target feel guilty or inadequate. How to defend against relationship manipulation. 1, recognize emotional manipulation patterns. 2, set boundaries and stick to them. 3, resist emotional hooks and pressure. 4, create distance from toxic individuals. The hidden power struggles in personal relationships. Final thoughts. Manipulation in relationship is subtle but highly effective. The most successful manipulators use gaslighting to rewrite reality, exploit guilt and obligation to gain compliance, create emotional addiction through love bombing, and use silent treatment to enforce control. How to defend yourself against manipulation. The hidden signs of manipulation. Manipulation is not about forcing someone to act. It's about shaping perception so that the target believes they are acting on their own free will. The following red flags indicate that someone may be subtly exerting control over you. 1, sudden emotional reactions that feel out of control. One of the strongest indicators of covert influence is when you suddenly feel extreme emotions, anger, guilt, fear, urgency without fully understanding why. 2, when a person's words and actions don't match. Manipulators often say one thing while doing another, creating confusion that makes them hard to pin down. Red flag, if someone's words don't align with their actions, they may be using manipulation to disguise their true intentions. To counter this, trust patterns of behavior over spoken assurances. 3, shifting blame and avoiding responsibility. 4, creating confusion and mental exhaustion. 5, using favor banking to create debt-based control. If someone's generosity feels transactional, they may be building a sense of debt to control future behavior. To counter this, recognize that true kindness has no strings attached. You are not obligated to repay manipulative favors. This section explores the core strategies for making yourself unmanipulatable, being building self-awareness, emotional stability, and critical thinking skills to ensure that no one can control your thoughts, emotions, or decisions. The following strategies help neutralize psychological control tactics. 1, master emotional detachment, recognizing when emotions are being weaponized. 2, stop seeking validation build inner confidence. 3, strengthen critical thinking. Question everything you're told. How to apply this strategy. Always ask who benefits if I believe this. Look for alternative perspectives before making decisions. Separate facts from emotional persuasion. Manipulation thrives on distorted framing. By strengthening logical thinking, you prevent others from controlling your perception of reality. 4, set hard boundaries, training people to respect your limits. 5, control your information. Stop giving manipulators leverage. How to apply the strategy. Limit how much information you share with people you don't fully trust. If someone asks invasive questions, redirect the conversation, set a boundary. Remember, information is power. Control what you reveal, and you control how much leverage others have over you. Final thoughts. Becoming immune to psychological manipulation. To become truly manipulatable, you must 1, detach from emotional manipulations. 2, stop seeking validation. 3, strengthen critical thinking. 4, set clear boundaries. 5, control your information. The final step in defending against manipulation is achieving mental autonomy, the ability to think independently, make decisions based on logic rather than emotion, and resist external control. To break free from manipulation, you must 1, develop emotional detachment. 2, cognitive independence. 3, information control. Detach from fear-based messaging. Recognize when fear is being used as a control tactic in sales, politics, or relationships. How to develop cognitive independence. Always ask who benefits. When presented with an idea, consider who gains if I believe this. Is this fact, or is it being framed to create a specific reaction? Strategic non-reactivity, controlling how others perceive your responses. One of the most powerful defense mechanisms against manipulation is becoming strategically non-reactive, choosing when and how to respond rather than reacting instinctively. By becoming unpredictable in your reactions, you disrupt manipulation attempts before they can take hold. Mental reset, reclaiming control after being manipulated. Even when with strong defenses, everyone is manipulated at some point. The key is learning how to reset and recover control quickly. The 7-day influence experiment. Days 1 and 2, practice subtle suggestion. The first step in mastering influence is learning how to plant ideas in someone's mind without them realizing it. For these 2 days, your focus will be on subtle suggestion, a technique that leverages indirect language, repetition, and subconscious priming to make people believe an idea was their own. Exercise 1, the I wonder technique. Instead of telling someone what to do, frame it as a passing thought or curiosity. Instead of saying, let's eat at this place, say, I wonder if that new sushi place is any good. So your task, try using the I wonder technique at least 5 times today to see how often people respond as if the idea was theirs. Exercise 2, strategic repetition and priming. Repetition makes ideas seem more credible and more likely to stick. Subtle priming works by introducing an idea multiple times in different ways. Your task, choose a theme, a product, a place, or an action, and prime someone in your circle by mentioning it 3 different ways throughout the day. Observe if they bring it up later. Exercise 3, the assumed agreement trick. Instead of asking if someone agrees, talk as if they already do. This removes hesitation and makes compliance feel natural. Instead of saying, would you like to move forward with this deal? Say, should we finalize the paperwork today or tomorrow? Use assumed agreement 3 times today and note how people react differently than if you had asked for permission. At the end of day 2, ask yourself, did people respond differently when I use subtle suggestion instead of direct commands? Which technique works best? Did anyone later suggest something I had subtly planted earlier? Days 3 and 4, building trust and influence with mirroring and priming. Now that you've practiced subtle suggestion and priming, it's time to move to deeper psychological influence techniques, mirroring and priming for trust building. For the next 2 days, your goal is to test these techniques in real interactions and observe how they change the way people respond to you. The power of mirroring. Why people trust those who reflect them. Mirroring is a nonverbal influence tactic where you subtle copy someone's body language, speech patterns, or energy level to make them feel connected. Exercise 1. When talking to someone, subtly match their posture, hands gestures, and facial expressions. Mirror 3 different people today and observe. This is your task. Do they open up more in conversation? Do they seem more engaged or trusting? Exercise 2, mirroring speech patterns. Mirror 3 people's vocal style and pace today and observe. Do they seem more engaged? Do they respond with more warmth or openness? Your task for day 4 is to test priming techniques. Use priming 3 times today and observe. Do people seem more receptive when the idea is brought up? Do they agree more quickly than usual? Days 5 and 6, anchoring and emotional triggers in action. Exercise 1, using positive anchors. The goal is to attach good emotions to your presence, voice, or gesture so that people unconsciously feel positive when they interact with you. Step 1, choose your anchor, a specific phrase. That's what I love about you, or touch, or gesture, and a tone of voice. Pair it with a positive motion. Each time the person feels good, repeat the chosen anchor. When someone laughs, lightly touch their arm. When they feel proud of something, that's exactly why you're so great at this. When they feel happy or excited, match their energy and repeat your anchor phrase. Over time, their brain will link that feeling with your presence or words, making them feel good around you without them knowing why. Your task, use a positive anchor 3 times today and observe. Does the person respond more positive to you over time? Do they seem to engage more or mirror your energy? Find one situation where someone reacts negatively to you and reframe their perception using a positive anchor. Emotional triggers, activating deep psychological responses. Common manipulators of emotional responses include excitement and enthusiasm, urgency and scarcity, nostalgia and sentimentality, fear and uncertainty. Exercise 3, triggering excitement and enthusiasm. When people are excited, they agree more easily, commit to ideas faster, and associate you with positive experience. How to trigger excitement, match or exceed their energy level, use vivid, engaging storytelling, focus on possibilities and benefits rather than negatives. Your task, test 3 instances of enthusiasm, mirroring today, and observe. Do people respond more positively to your suggestions? Do they agree faster than usual? Exercise 4, urgency increases decision-making speed. Instead of forcing urgency, introduce it naturally. Your task, use 2 urgency-based phrases today and observe. Do people move more quickly? Do they seem more committed to decisions? On day 7, you will bring everything together, testing a full set of influence techniques in a real conversation, sale, or negotiation. Now that you've practiced subtle suggestion, mirroring, priming, anchoring, and emotional trigger, it's time for the final challenge. Say your goal is to apply multiple influence strategies in a single conversation and observe how effectively you can steer the outcome in your favor. 1, choose your test situation. 2, structure the conversation using influence techniques. 3, build rapport with mirroring and matching. 4, use anchoring to reinforce positive emotions. 4, introduce emotional triggers to strengthen persuasion. 5, choose the loop with the assumed agreement technique. What have you learned about influence? Final thought. With great influence comes great responsibility. The techniques in this book can be used to guide, persuade, and inspire, or they can be used for manipulation and control. The true power of influence lies in how you choose to use it. Mastering these techniques will allow you to detect and defend against manipulation. Use persuasion to create win-win outcomes. Control your own mind while subtly shaping the reality of others. Final words. Key takeaways, what you have learned. Mastering covert influence is about understanding human psychology and using it to guide behavior without triggering resistance. The 5 most important lessons from this book are: 1, perception is reality, control the frame, control the outcome. 2, subtlety wins, direct control triggers resistance. 3, emotional control is the key to influence and resistance. 4, repetition and priming shape beliefs. 5, mental autonomy is your greatest defense. How to continue mastering influence. Refine your awareness of manipulation in everyday life. Watch for framing techniques in media and advertising. 2, develop tactical influence skills in conversation. Train your mind. 3, train your mind to resist psychological influence.